plants don't necessarily talk with words, but, you know, sayings can come into your mind, lyrics can come into your mind, olfactory memories can come into your mind, experiences in your nervous system can come, all as information of what the plant is there to do for you. Don't be afraid to put it in your mouth. See what that feels like. What's the immediate sense impression that the plant gives you?
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Blue Hour podcast, where we explore the minds and the world of visionary artists and creators. Following this previous solar segment that was happening last week, we have Atisha Rashidi, PhD in Chinese medicine and creator of the Planetary Healing Collective, which includes acupuncture, astrology, and a lot more. This week we go more in depth into understanding how her psyche works with these more subjective questions, but also she'll give more practical advice for you guys, including how to recognize a plant's healing properties just by looking at it, how to integrate holistic plant medicine with astrology, learning how to listen to the plants before harvesting it, because that's, I think, something that's very forgotten, is the connection with the natural world. And even she'll share some simple daily practice to calm and regulate your nervous system. Don't forget to go apply to the Visionary Rose gift. There's 2 weeks left, and you get the chance to win money, a residency, esoteric mentorship, and so much more. The link is in the description below. Finally, if you want to support the channel, go get yourself some hoodies. We've got 2 colors, this kind of purplish, dirty pinkish, and then this blue color, navy. In an oversized, it's one size oversized, and it's the most comfortable. I wear it every day, and it's embroidered here. It's got the embroidered font here, and it's available on the website. So if you want to support us, go get yourself one, and let's jump right in.
All right, so welcome to part 2.
Yes.
The next day we're filming the Blue Hour segment behind the veil, behind the blue veil. So as in all the other episodes, there is always one question I start with. Mm-hmm. It's a 3-part segment, and you'll get it. You'll get what it's leading towards. But let's just start. The first question is called the initiation. What gives you the most joy, allowing you to be persistent in doing what you do?
It's a beautiful question. Really, I think it always comes back down to having a more rooted purpose of like being in nature and connecting with nature, and having moments where, you know, I'm just with the plant, foraging, sitting, connecting. And that's really what roots me in the work that I do. And also, you know, in those moments like when I'm sitting with somebody in an appointment and, you know, able to kind of like extend my heart fields to people in a way where, you know, I can take the information that they're opening up to me about and translate that into a treatment in a way that makes them feel more expansive or more comfortable in their body. And I think it's really just like those 2 things of like being of service and like interacting with nature in like a good way in my heart space that really keeps me rooted in why it is I do what I do. Yeah.
I think your mic, maybe put it like
yeah.
on your coat here, just in case it rubs. So yeah, I think that's very aligned with the discussions we had also yesterday.
Yeah.
Second question that leads, that follows this one is called the descent. So throughout your lifetime thus far, what was the descent is all about fears. So throughout your life, like the Saturnian aspect, what has come in the way of that joy throughout your life and kind of, got in the way?
I think it's like a really human-based question, and I think the first thing that comes to my mind, and I think that a lot of humans can relate to this, is just how doubt impacts our capacity to show up within ourselves and something that I've contemplated about doubt is that it's a function of the ego to get in the way of you actually showing up in your purpose, because doubt is one of the most selfish things that you can entertain. And that's something I've identified in myself is, how egoic of me to doubt the gifts that I've been given to show up in, and let that doubt restrict me showing up in my gifts. So, getting through imposter syndrome, it's really about quieting your ego and what your ego thinks about how worthy you are, and letting that, practicing to make that part of you quiet, your doubt quiet, or at least not let it hinder you, because, in my experience of myself, doubt has been one of the things that impacts my confidence to show up just as I am. And I think it's this idea that we have to be perfect when we show up, and it's perfectionism. It's great to strive for perfection, but to understand that perfectionism is the killer of creativity and confidence and showing up authentically. And so, to answer your question, I think one of my greatest fears or Saturnian kind of blocks is learning how to move past that doubt in a way where I can just trust the consistency of my efforts and make it less about doubting myself, because that's just ego coming through the back door and trying to self-sabotage is what I've learned.
Yeah, and this leads to the third question, which you've in part already answered.
Yeah.
The rebirth. So when you have gone through the doubts, what lessons have you learned, or tools that allows you to move past them, so that you can remain the most time possible in the joy vibration, or the...
Yeah, that's also, I think, an important question, because I think in a consumer-based culture where we're kind of encouraged and we have lots of pressures to create and perform and produce, one of the things that helps me move through the doubt is allowing for myself to have rest. Allowing for myself to be in a space of non-doing, and being able to create that distinction when my brain, another facet of the ego, is oh, you must be doing something, you must be moving, you must be performing, you must be making this or that, or be here or be there, and to rather allow myself in a radical way to just be where I'm at, and be present with my body, what's in front of me, what are my needs in this moment. That's really, I think, what allows me to have my basic needs met before I start, tackling things like my doubt. If my anxiety is peaking or I feel stress in my body, am I breathing? Do I need water? Do I need sleep? Do I need food? And being in touch with that bodily aspect, that Saturnian aspect where, mental health starts to come into the play. That's part of the self-care that helps me move past my doubt, is just knowing that I can meet my basic needs. Which, kind of plays into that idea of the hierarchy of needs. And from a fed, well-slept, well-hydrated place, mountains start to become molehills with perspective of being resourced to, have the resources to literally surmount a challenge in front of me that might be stirring doubt. So it's a very simple answer, but...
Yeah, but it's good to hear it, even if it's simple, you just need sometimes a reminder of that. Where if you're living through this doubt in your life right now,
yeah,
that's what you need. It's very simple as well.
Yeah, let's not do the system any favors and by internalizing systemic failures or systemic issues and making them about us. Is my stress really about me, or is it the way that I've been setting up my life according to what the system has told me that I need to set it up? And reclaiming actually I'm in control of the stress factors of my life, and I might not be able to change it in the next week, I might not be able to change it in the next month, but with a year or 6 months of intentional planning and change, I can take control of what stress input I'm exposing myself to. And so if we're stressed or underfed or undernourished, those are things that accumulate over time to peak into anxiety and stress and disease in the body. So making sure that you're just taking care of like good sleep, exposure to fresh air and water, and good food and human connection, those are really the 5 pillars of mental health and well-being, that'll carry you very far.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Second segment, flash questions. So I have not, it's going to be the whole season. I'm talking to the guests and I have not found the official title yet. So it's going to be evolving throughout the season, but eventually I'll figure it out. But flash questions for now, or thunder questions. So maybe we can go in this little garden. It's very beautiful.
Let us see what's in the secret garden that's in front of us.
So it's basically questions that you can answer as quick or as slow as you want.
Okay.
And they're designed to be a bit more abstract. What is this?
This is a beautiful rose bush that smells absolutely delectable.
Well,
there's always time to stop and smell the roses.
You know what? This first question is about that.
Yeah.
If your life had a signature scent, what would it be, and what memories or feeling does it evoke?
Well, true to the manifestation in front of me, I would definitely say roses as a very big, I think, imprint. My mom has an avid collection of roses in our front yard, and so in my childhood, walking out the front door, I would always have the smell of roses, and depending on the time of year, maybe a fresh rain. And so in the springtime in California and the summer months, that kind of floral, dewy, warm air is definitely a sense imprint for me. And roses have always kind of come and shown themselves to me as allies for my Venusian parts of my chart. And ways of existing in the world.
Which are in your 10th house, which is a very important part of your Dharma and the Vedic system as well. The Venusian. That's what you offer the world.
Yes, and I'm a big fan of the rose medicine.
Describe a sound that brings you profound peace or clarity.
Ironically enough, I absolutely love either the sound of a crackling fire or the sound of the wind moving through tall pine trees. There's something about that far away but close sound, and watching the trees move as I hear the wind move through them, something that's kind of ethereal, moving these huge giant masses, and just like the sound of that brings a certain peace.
Did you put perfume on it? It smells, either it's the rose or it's your perfume, but
no,
something is.
I don't have any perfume on.
Because it smells like it's a very complex smell. It feels like it's not just one source, like it's a... You smell it? I don't know what that is.
It's, I mean, it's maybe the...
Oh, that smells nice, but it's not that.
It's not that, huh? Yeah, I don't have any perfume on this morning, so...
Okay, next question.
Yeah.
What is a dream that you've had that felt particularly significant or even prophetic?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it... I mean, I've had several dreams that feel quite prophetic, and past life kind of waking regressions that kind of evoke that dream state. One that's coming to my mind, which I felt like was... I stood up straight and I paid attention to it after I woke up from it, but I do remember being in a underground cave in the sand dunes while there was war going on above the surface. I was underground in a chamber of some sort, and remember walking into Sekhmet's chamber. And as soon as I made eye contact with Sekhmet, there was this like autonomic reflex in my dream that took over my body, and I like, it was like a reflex to kneel in front of her, like I was one of her, an extension of her in doing, and Sekhmet kind of has this, she is a goddess of war, but also there's the hectate side of her where there's this medicine component as well. So it was very interesting to have that reflection of like war going on up on the surface and then being below, underneath, in this like subconscious realm where I'm like taking orders from her. So yeah, that was a very standout dream that I had with her. And I've also dreamt lots of like reishis giving me like imprint downloads of functions that aren't necessarily like talked about. Like people talk a lot about their immune system properties and their polysaccharide content, and but it's interesting. I remember having a dream about a reishi growing out of a TV, and there was a Buddha right there in the rocks as well. And so I was like, when I woke up from that, I was like, huh, okay, what the hell does that mean? But I later understood that with that Buddha archetype present, it's like reishi helps you grow your spiritual ears, your capacity to tune into more spiritual listening. And if you look at a reishi, it actually looks like an ear. It looks like, a lung. It looks like a kidney, but it also looks like an ear. The ear being the extension of the kidneys as well. And so, there's dreams like that where I have connections to these certain plants or fungi that they kind of tell me some of their functions in my dream state. And so it's interesting to see and play with that and kind of connect with those functions. So it's a two-pronged answer there.
Wow. Yeah, that's very meaningful. I wonder, like, did you feel different after that Sekhmet dream, like when you woke up?
Like I said, I woke up and I metaphorically kind of stood up a little bit straight. I was like, okay, I need to like write that down. And just recently I actually purchased a little statue of her for
after that moment,
into my lab space and my space, just to remind me of that mission that kind of gave me a bit of a download into the purpose that I was born into this life for. And taking that seriously, I felt like Sekhmet came into that moment in my life and told me, you're here on a mission and I've got work for you to do.
Yeah, Ketu Jupiter connects you definitely to past lives, and it brings you back to continuing something that was not finished in a past life.
Yeah, I mean, and I didn't even get to necessarily get into that one, but there was a past life regression that I had in that sense of I was a cloaked figure. I was a woman, and I knew that I wasn't supposed to be where I was. And I had this past life regression reading a book called Love Without End by Glenda Green. And it's a book about a conversation where the spirit of Yeshua comes and sits with her, and she paints a photo of him. And in this conversation, he's talking about his lost years. And I remember he was talking about his relationship with Sarah. And for some reason, when I heard that name, or I read it, I had like a moment where my consciousness left my body and went into a complete other timeline, where I was this cloaked figure slipping into a tent that was lit by candlelight. And I remember to be very secretive and have my hood up, because I knew that as a woman, I wasn't, one, allowed to be there, but two, I wasn't allowed to read. And I was reading this ancient Hebrew text in this like scroll, and was like reading something that I was not allowed to see nor understand. And in my awareness in that moment of that past life regression, I remember my consciousness sensed like this pack of like 40 like Arabian horses, like black Arabian horses with like hooded dangerous figures like coming up over the ridge to the back to their camp, and I slipped out and then I came back to. And so after I had that moment, I got really curious about why the name Sarah triggered that for me. And so I wrote my name down, Atisa Rashidi, and then I saw the transition between my first name and my last name is Sarah. And so obviously it is what it is, but for me, like, that was a moment where I was like, okay, I'm not saying that I am Sarah, but with my family lineage and traditions, like on my father's side, I've very ancient, DNA from my dad's side, being Kurdish, and so it was interesting that seeing that name evoked like this past life regression for me. So.
Yeah, this is fascinating things. But let's move on to the next question, because we have a lot. I have so many interesting ones I want to ask you. What is a simple everyday moment that feels deeply magical to you?
I think it comes back to just like sometimes like having those still quiet moments of contemplation and reflection, and like something that I talked a little bit about in our previous podcast episode is like that the difference between like fixed focus and soft peripheral focus. And I think it's just in the moments every day where I have that time to just relax in my nervous system and kind of take in like different sense impressions that I'm getting from like the winds, the sound of the wind, the sound of chimes, like a sound far away versus a sound that's close, feeling warm in my body from the sun, and just like really feeling how I'm a part of, the environment around me, and having access to nature. And those are the moments I feel the most magical, and also having my special connections with animals. Really such a joy and such a gift when an animal like trusts you enough to want to cuddle you and seek you out as a source of comfort. I think that's a really special thing that I feel very grateful for every day. Call them my simple sources of joy. Yeah.
What's a feeling or emotion that feels the most challenging to express, and how do you navigate it?
I think anger. Anger, I think, is a very taboo emotion, and I think learning how to express anger in a responsible way that, doesn't translate that anger into necessarily like aggressive, malicious action towards another, but rather, something that I've had to integrate, having my Mars in the 12th house very close to my moon, is understanding that anger is a message for my nervous system that's connected to, maybe a sense of a need, whether that's an emotional need or a physical need, or a need for safety, a need for being seen, a need for being heard.
For being protected sometimes also.
For being protected, and so understanding that when I have anger show up in my nervous system, in my emotional body, not necessarily just leaving it at that and then expressing it myself out of anger, but rather letting the anger, sitting with the anger for long enough for it to inform me about what my need is, and then approaching conversation not through my anger, but rather by understanding what my need is.
And asserting yourself, which is Martian, but in a compassionate way.
Yeah.
Because there's an understanding, and it's not just like projection,
Yeah, it's not like coming at somebody necessarily with arrows.
Yeah.
Which I can do as well, but it's an integrative evolutionary process of learning how to like translate that in the in a you know, bringing that challenge and letting that challenge evolve me into something, you know, higher minded.
Maybe we move
Yeah.
this place. And next question. I think one last question, and then we can walk towards your practical, and I'll ask you another question as we walk.
Yeah.
What is a place, real or imagined, where you feel most authentically yourself?
I would say sunbathing by a body of water, and maybe even ending my evening with a campfire. There's nothing like exposure to the elements to make me feel whole and most at ease in just who I am, and you know, in that space of not just leisure but using that exposure to the elements to feed my soul. And I would say that the next best place that I could say that is being in my lab and working with creating medicines, and I feel very much myself there, and writing music as well. So I think really overarching that is like a space of like leisure and self-care, as well as a space of creativity and creation is where I feel like most myself, you know, and with others, and feeling like I have people that are, you know, heart connected and having conversations with me. I think that sense of belonging, it's like a trifecta. Having a good time in the sun, ending the evening with friends by the fire, and laughing and sharing songs or creations or cool tinctures. Yeah.
Beautiful. Let's head back at the same time. The next question as we walk. Let's see. What is a quality you possess that you believe is often overlooked by others?
That's a great question. I think, you know, and I'll have to reference a little bit of my own experience of feedback with people getting to know me. You know, I can come off with this kind of intensity that people might read as, you know, sort of closed offness or something, but it's actually, when people get to know me, I'm quite a joker, and that seriousness is really more just the intentionality that I bring into each moment of like seeing the pregnancy of the moment and like wanting to get the most out of it is where that intensity comes from. But I do follow it up with a lot of humor. Like, my love language is getting to know somebody, getting to know how their mind works, what things they find funny, and in context bringing them into moments of laughter as a way of showing like love and care and making them feel seen. And so it takes a little bit more getting to know me and investing time and spending time with me and opening up.
But it's funny because I've never seen the serious part. Like, we haven't spent that much time, but now we just spend like, you know, I don't know, a few hours together,
Yeah.
and I never saw the seriousness.
Yeah, that's usually what people project before they really actually get to know, to like sit down and hang out, which is, I think,
Okay,
the
from
context.
afar.
Yeah, from like more of afar and stuff. And so I think like when people
Okay,
really get to know me, I'm really just a big goof, a big goof. Yeah, I really always just looking to crack a joke.
And the last question for this segment, is there a particular piece of music that feels like a direct translation of your soul?
A piece of music, a direct translation of my soul. Yes, very much so. Which song that would be? I'm such an avid music lover. I think right now there's one that's coming into mind that I just just recently landed in my field. It's called Porchside Prayer by Lave, and it's just this beautiful steel guitar, very like kind of has this reverent, laid back, beautiful, just wandering and meandering, no lyrics or anything, chimes in the background with the wind, and it feels really reflective of just kind of the general atmosphere and experience in my nervous system that I'm trying to create on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
So I'll have to show it to you later.
Yeah, definitely
We can
show
link
it.
it in the show notes.
Yeah. For the practical part, so I remember like in the first episode we filmed together, and I'm very interested in that, like how do you see a plant and learn to know its properties just by observation?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, well, we've got some wild roses here to kind of give us a nice little experience with, coming to know a plant. I mean, if I had some tobacco on me at this moment, I would, whether I'm about to forage wild roses or even just do a plant sit, I like to offer, the plant at its roots a little bit of tobacco. If I don't have tobacco, I'll offer, a part of my hair, just as a way of, showing reciprocity with the plant and kind of like letting it know that I'm there in a place of like reverence and offering.
And would it like symbolically, like let's say the hair, for example, has lots of protein, and when disintegrated minerals, they'll nourish the plant. Is that what the idea is?
And there's a dual function, especially when you're offering something of your own body, like spit or hair or nails or anything that, really you're giving to the plant. It is a way of the plant actually getting to know you. And, even a permaculture biodynamic trick is when you're planting seeds, put them in your mouth before you plant it and let them sit in your spit. And it's like they're getting an energetic scan of you so that they know what your biophysical needs are as they're growing.
Wow.
And so, that idea kind of similarly translates. It's like if I come by and I say hello to a plant every day, that plant's going to know me and be a little bit more open to extending its own energy field into like my energy field. And so going back to our inquiry of like, okay, like how do you start to understand like the properties and understand what a plant is good for? And so, I mean, there's many ways to do that, but first and foremost, I like to start off when I'm getting to know a plant through that like more reverent approach of like bringing an offering to show that reciprocity. And after that, there's also like looking at the morphology of a plant. I mean, in this plant, like, you can see that there's like, right here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 petals. Mm-hmm. So that's a signature. The fact that there's thorns on the plant as well, that's a signature. And even when it comes to the leaf and the morphology of the leaves, see how there's serrated edges? Yeah, like that's a signature as well. And so, wild rose is a really beautiful expression of, that primary rulership of Venus, the beautiful pink quality, the 5 petal signatures tends towards being kind of like a Venusian number, a 5-pointed star. And so, there's some elements of like also roses working on the circulatory system and helping provide this kind of tonification quality to the venous return aspect of the cardiovascular system. So it's really interesting in that sense that you can kind of start to see like the planet expressing itself in the morphology of the plant. Now with wild rose, it's a really interesting case because, there's always, there's a primary planetary rulership in plants, but there's also secondary rulerships. And so in that sense, looking at the plant and understanding what its functions are, you can see these thorns, and that's a classic signature of Mars. Is thorns is like that kind of sharp edge. It's just like the edge of a knife, that serrated quality. But also just if you see like the redness in the plant itself, that redness that accompanies the pink is another kind of signature, and that's why I kind of give wild rose a secondary signature of Mars as well. And I would say that a lot of other herbalists would probably also kind of lean towards that classification in terms of planetary ruler. But so there's so many things that go into kind of identifying like what the planetary rulers are, but also like what are the physical functions that that plant is doing. And so knowing something about rose and like what its herbal actions are, it's like an astringent, it's cardiotonic in the sense that it tonifies the cardiovascular system, but it's like, but how does it do it? And okay, if I'm trying to like learn about a plant, don't be afraid to put it in your mouth. See what that feels like. What's the immediate sense impression that the plant gives you? And putting it on your tongue. Tongue is an extension of the heart, and it allows that heart-mind connection to start understanding and letting that, even as I'm talking, I'm kind of feeling this energetic expanse happening both through my lower abdomen, which is very like Mars, Scorpio, sacral, reproduction, like, but then there's that heart element too, where like there's like a connection between the sacral and the heart chakra, that Venusian kind of connecting in relationships, the reproductive side of that, the sensual side of that. And so that's kind of like this beautiful way that you can also start to understand what plants do, is literally just put it on your tongue. Obviously, you want to know whether that plant is poisonous or not. And, some discernment is required when learning to distinguish what a plant does and putting it in your mouth. But, if you're not really sure, you don't have to put it, a piece of the plant in your mouth. You can literally, find a comfortable spot on the ground. Right now with where I'm at, one practice that you can also do without necessarily ingesting the plant is like getting into a meditative space in your nervous system, quieting your mind, perhaps saying a little prayer to acknowledge the plant's presence. And just like you would a stranger or somebody that you're just meeting, approaching that with the plant might have its own boundaries. I mean, like, look at these thorns, right? Mm-hmm. Part of the medicine that Rose offers spiritually is learning how to have boundaries in relationships, how to protect yourself and your heart in relationships, how to recover from maybe moments where you didn't protect your heart. And so any plant that you're approaching, kind of having that respect for its boundaries and like asking a little bit in your heart space, in your heart mind, like, kind of like extending your heart field to where its energy field starts and acknowledging it in your consciousness and giving gratitude towards the plant. It's like a relationship that you're building, how you do with people. It's like, oh, I see you, I acknowledge you.
Feels like a form of alchemy, since we discussed that in the yesterday's filming.
Yeah.
Like, relationships are also like I feel like a metaphor for your inner relationship with your inner world, which is like the feminine receptive, and your outer expression. And I think that what you're describing can also apply to you as an individual. How do you relate to your inner world?
Yeah.
Are you protective? Are you heart-centered, expressive? But how do you find the right balance? You will see it in relationships, in nature, and in yourself. And
yeah, it is that balance between like a giving and a receiving, and having the stillness in between the giving and the receiving to just like kind of be aware of all what's happening. It is kind of the side of, I wouldn't necessarily call plants, they are part of the alchemical tradition. I mean, to know a plant, how do you know what a plant does before you even, have started to take it? And I remember mentioning in our previous podcast episode a Chinese medicine folklore character, Shen Bing, who, was the original author of The Farmer's Divine Classic. And it's, folklore that he had an invisible stomach. And in one day, Shen Bing ingested 70 different plants to determine whether they were poisonous or medicinal, and what qualities they had, what they did. And in that sense, it's like, well, Shannon had to actually ingest those things and see how they worked on his body to then determine what they do. And so this plant sit that we're doing and talking about is the first step in understanding, okay, like in the lab, what are the spiritual properties of this plant? What are the physical properties of this plant? And all of that will actually be shown to you in the morphology of the plant as well. Or how it, that experience of putting a leaf or a petal onto your tongue and like tuning in that still space of like, okay, where am I receiving this?
Even put a thorn on your tongue, see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you could. That would definitely show you how relationships can hurt.
Yeah, and you'd feel all your body like
up.
protecting nervous system activation.
Yeah, of course. So, and the other element that I haven't really talked about yet is when you're in that space of extending your heart fields to the plant, similar to what I was talking about in our previous podcast episode, plants don't necessarily talk with words, but, sayings can come into your mind, lyrics can come into your mind, olfactory memories can come into your mind, experiences in your nervous system can come, all is information of what the plant is there to do for you, or what it can do for you. So there's a lot of different ways to just sit and understand what plants do. And
it feels like for plants, like for everything in life, you can ingest them, but there's the other type of feeding, which is like feeding your mind, which like, for example, like having a photo of the plant and looking at it before going to sleep, you're feeding your mind this image. This symbol that this plant represents will open up in your subconscious mind and give you its true essence. That's another type of
and I believe the picture is a great idea too, and having images of things that we want to impress into our nervous system, especially before bed, is like a ritual, is a really powerful way to dream with the plant. It's probably why I used to have a lot of reishi dreams, is because I would take reishi every night, and I still do. But
before bed you take it?
Yeah, it's a nice, when I have it brewed, it's like a really nice calming tea, very good for sleep, really good for your shen.
It's funny, you gave me this deer antler potion. A few minutes after I took it, both my ears, the subtle vibration you hear, like zzz, like ringing, and I just had another wave of that just happened right now.
You must be replenishing your jing. Because jing is associated with the kidneys, and the extension of the kidneys is the ear. So maybe it's nourishing your jing essence.
So I suggest, because you have another thing you wanted to share with the audience, I suggest we go, we're 40 minutes in, so maybe like have a like
quick
5-8 minute like
little
demo.
Yeah, step into my office.
The beautiful office by the ocean.
By the sea.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've got Alex's chart pulled up here as a way to demo really just how to identify what we've been talking about and like distill what we've been talking about into a practical step for everybody that adds value into understanding your own elemental constitution, which I'm very big about. And so basically, when you pull up your chart, right now I'm using astro.com. And once you calculate your chart, I use whole system, or whole signs in the tropical system. So when you cast your chart, down here at the bottom at this website, and most websites will tell you, but it'll tell you how many planets you have in each element. So here we have fire, earth, air, and water. So it's a bit different from the Chinese medicine elemental model, but we still work with this. And so it'll also tell you whether your signs are in a cardinal element, a fixed element, or a mutable element. And so Alex here has 4 different constitutionally significant planets in the tropical house system in fire signs, 2 in cardinal and 2 in fixed. And so that's going to predispose Alex to more heat kind of constitutions, or more I would even say Mars type conditions. And so, you know, looking at your elemental components and like how many elements you have in your constitution and in your chart will tell you a lot about your own temperament. I mean, especially with like with Mercury and the Sun being in Aries, in a cardinal fire sign. Because Aries is the cardinal fire sign, you know, that's gonna definitely be like quick mind, quick mental activity, a personality that very much likes to act on ideas in a quick, directed manner, you know, and, you know, gets downloads and wants to just like take action right away. And even with that fixed fire, you know, which is Leo, and having your moon and your Jupiter there, you know, it's like those things are going to influence the nature of how you, you know, express your emotions, how you grow things in your life. And so knowing the amount of, you know, okay, like you have a predominance of fire in your chart. How does that influence your constitution? How does that influence your psychology? How does that influence how other people experience you in the world? And to bring it back down to an even more practical level, well, okay, so there's a predisposition towards, you know, quick mental activity, and how does that lead to potential burnout, or how does that lead to maybe spreading yourself too thin, having too many pots on the stove at the same time? Okay, like what does that look like on a practical, clinical level or lifestyle-based level? And that's really like where, you know, understanding the elemental dominance in your chart can really synthesize into some practical steps for creating that balance in your life. And
mostly it's also very accessible. Like anyone can go on this
astro.com,
website,
astrodienst.com,
and then you can just see visually like what's actually predominating in your chart.
Yeah, and it'll put it right there in a nice little neat chart for you. And, you know, what I do in my business is, you know, of course, since I'm in Chinese medicine, I, you know, translate these elemental dominances into the generation and the control cycle charts in Chinese medicine 5-element theory. And so from there, we kind of see, you know, which elements are in excess and which ones are in deficient states, and how is that expressing in the intake that I'm doing with somebody, and how can I translate that information into an acupuncture session as well as formula.
Yeah, so yeah, it's very cool. I think everyone should go check. If you're not into astrology, even that, like just to know which elements you have most, and then just ChatGPT what this element means and what it could mean for you to have predisposition in that. Like it just gives you more insight into who you are.
Yes.
And it helps you understand yourself better. And then what you do with it, then it's up to you.
And that's the goal of all of this, is to create more self-awareness, more self-acceptance and grace, and more expanded, self-actualized humans. That's really what my service is here to humanity, through the tools that I've gathered in my tool belt. And so, you know, it's really about elevating and exalting people and who they've come here to be. You know? So
maybe just remind people your website so they can look at your service.
Yeah, I'd love if you guys can find me at planetaryhealingcollective.com. I'm also on Instagram at Planetary Healing Collective on Instagram, so you can find me there. And I would love if you guys drop me a line or a DM or any questions that popped up from Alex and I's convo on Blue Hour podcast. So thanks again for having me here, bud.
Yeah, thank you so much for your beautiful insights. And until the next season, maybe season 4.
We'll be back.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. I hope this was enjoyable and you got a lot of practical insights. If you did, please comment, like, subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to go get yourself one of those hoodies, most comfortable ever. The link is in the bio below. Go follow Atisha's work, and you can go on her website to have access to all her service as well. Support her as much as you can. She's really amazing. So thanks for watching, everyone, and don't forget to go apply to the Visionary Rose gift too if you're a visionary creator. The link is in the bio. There's 2 weeks left. Much love and light to all.